Good morning. Good morning. Patrick here on this windy uh, and kind of cool Good Friday here in Georgia. Um, so we've been going through Passion Week, and I know that I didn't post um, for yesterday or Wednesday, but actually I did upload my devotional thoughts to our YouTube page, which is Cobb Vineyard Fusion. Uh, but on this Good Friday, just reflecting on the death of Christ, the death of Christ, and so looking at Luke chapter 22 and 23, um, and there's so much going on in those chapters where Jesus is in the garden and he gets betrayed by Judas. Well, before that, he's praying out to the Father. And in this moment, I believe in this moment of humanity, is crying out to him, Father, if there's any way that you could pass this cup, please do it. But he reverts back to who he is and knowing his calling and saying, but not my will, but your will be done. And Judas comes with the temple guards and some of the priests, the temple priests. They arrest Jesus. His disciples try to fight them. Peter cuts off the ear of one of them, and Jesus stops them. Says, "This is not how my kingdom is going to come. Put your swords away. This is not how this is going to happen. This has to happen, right?" He goes before the chief priest. He goes against Ananias. He goes before Caiaphas, and each time they question him, he never really gives them the answer that they're looking for, because he points it back to them. But there's also this really cool part in Luke chapter 22 where he says, when the guards come with their weapons and everything, and they've got clubs, and he says, all this time I've been in a temple and you never laid hands on me. You've never come against me, and now you do. But he says, but this is your hour and the power of darkness. That is Luke 22 verse 53, the second half of it, where he's like, he honestly assessed the whole situation and says, all this time you have had the opportunity to attack me, and you haven't taken advantage of it. You haven't taken advantage of it. But this is your hour. This is your time. Him recognizing that all of this has to come to pass. But this morning when I was reading, and as I said, there's so much going on. You have him before Ananias, you have him before Caiaphas, you have him before Herod, you have him before Pilate, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I couldn't shake the interaction of Jesus and Barabbas. So in Luke chapter 22, and starting with verse, or actually it's chapter 23, starting with verse 18. But they all cried out together, away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, a man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection started in the city, and for murder. And Pilate, because remember, Pilate is trying to find a way for Jesus not to be crucified because he doesn't find him guilty, and neither did Herod, right? Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." A third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" So even Pilate is like, this is ridiculous. "I have found him no guilt deserving death. I will therefore punish and release him." But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that their demands should be granted, and he released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder. Barabbas was in prison for trying to start a insurrection, and he was guilty of murder. and they delivered Jesus over to be crucified. When I reflected on this, I began to think about how this is the illustration of salvation. That you had Barabbas, who is guilty of murder. He's guilty of insurrection. He is guilty of all of these things. And he's released. And Jesus takes his place on the cross. And then when you think about it, Barabbas never does or says anything to his own defense. It's almost as if he freely gets this saving, this salvation. And I started to think about what salvation means for us. Remember in Isaiah 53:5, and let me go there real quickly. Isaiah 53:5, it said a lot, but I really believe that it illustrates to us why Jesus came. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace. Right? Barabbas is guilty, hands down, of what he's done. And yet he's set free by Jesus. And Jesus not one time fights against, even argues against Barabbas being set free and him going to the cross. And Barabbas does nothing to earn it or deserve it. That's the beauty of Good Friday. In spite of all of this pain that Good Friday represents, the death of Jesus, the him being beaten and whipped and mocked and hung on a cross and nailed and stabbed in the side, and all of this pain, but the pain was for us. And we try to make all of these things to try to be saved. And I say try to be saved, right? I can't listen to this music, or I have to act like this. And salvation has nothing to do with any of those things. Salvation is a gift that is freely given by God. We are Barabbas. We are him. He is us. We are guilty of everything that we have done, am doing, currently done, and will do. And yet, we stand saved because Jesus went to the cross for us. See, that's why for me, Christianity is not a religion. And I'm even sometimes reluctant to say Christianity. I'm a follower of the way. I'm a follower of Christ. Because it's that action alone. There's nothing that Patrick can do. There's nothing that Patrick can say. No matter how good a person I may try to be, that's not what saves me. That's not what saves any of us. Salvation is this gift that is freely given. Freely given. And so I leave you with that thought this morning, this day, on this Good Friday, that we are Barabbas. We are the ones who are guilty. Just like as I think about it, the thief that is on the cross with Jesus and says to the other one who was mocking him, hey, look, we're guilty. We're getting what we deserve. Barabbas should have gotten what he deserved, but he didn't get it. And we don't know what happened to Barabbas afterwards. Does his life completely change? Well, I don't know. We don't know. But I do think that the illustration of salvation is that exchange of Jesus for Barabbas. And if we today will accept that and accept it freely, that Jesus died for our sins, then we are set free, and then we can really honestly and truly embrace and feel this um, this Good Friday and rejoice in knowing that we are saved. So I continue to pray for you guys. I love you guys. Let God's face continue to shine upon you. And I hope to see you real soon. Continue to pray God's blessings on you. Have a good Friday. And remember that Sunday's coming. Be blessed.